Thank you. Roll call. Chief Clerk.
Delegate Albert,
Aye.
Delegate Arnold, Delegate Arnold, Delegate Asher.
Tuwo, pange.
Oh, thank you. Delegate Posse. Thank you. Delegate Cantero. Delegate Chur. Delegate Fritz. Thank you. Delegate Ashukuchi. Thank you. Vice President Isananka Neriarte. Delegate Canto.
Aye.
Delegate Louis.
Aye.
Delegate Martin.
Aye.
Delegate Mori.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Delegate Nabayan.
Here.
Delegate Knight.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. Delegate Balsas.
Yes.
Delegate Risson.
Morning.
Morning. Thank you. Delegate Simon. Delegate Samo.
Here. Good morning.
Delegate Sigra.
Morning.
Thank you. Delegate Susaya. Delegate Takasi. Floor Leader Yatulman.
Good morning all here.
President Kilian.
Here. Thank you.
Delegate Jor.
Morning. Thank you. I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. President, 21 delegates are present.
Thank you, Chief Clerk. Therefore, we have a quorum to transact business for today's session. Again, continue to welcome our colleagues, delegates who are participating via virtual means. Again, we thank you very much for your taking your time out from your busy schedule and participating in our deliberations. Okay, moving on, item 4, adoption of journal. Mr. President, I move that we defer adoption of the journal. Second. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we defer adoption of the said journal. Any discussion? If none, shall be noted. All those in favor of the motion say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. Item 5, communications. Chief Clerk.
Mr. President, we do not have any communications.
Thank you. Item 6, unfinished business.
None, Mr. President.
Item 7, reports of committees.
Mr. President, as of now, we do not have any reports.
And item 8, first reading of committee proposals.
None, Mr. President.
Thank you. Item 9, second reading of committee proposals. And since our co-chair, Chairman Asher, is not physically with us, he's in our state of Kushay, I hereby...
Mr. President,
Yes.
before we resolve it to call, I'd like to make a proposed amendment to the proposal before we resolve into the committee of the whole. Is that okay?
Yeah, just state for the record the appointment of the co-chair. Yes. Thank you, Chairman Nabayan. But as I was saying, since Chairman of COW, Asher, is not physically with us today, but he's participating via virtual means, he has agreed or relented that hereby appoint our floor leader to be the temporary chairman of the committee of the whole for today's session. So with that, we're now item 9. Second reading of committee proposals. Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first one is on committee proposal number 4-11, CCD1, for second reading from your Committee on Government Structure and Functions, but first subject to review by Committee of the Whole or COW.
Thank you. Under the rules, as per our rules, I hereby resolve.
Mr. President,
Resolve our committee, yes.
before we resolve into the call, may I make my proposed amendment?
Chairman Nabayan, wouldn't you do it when we committee of the whole or outside?
The reason why I think it's important to do it in plenary is because the discussion will capture the intent of the amendment. And in the call, it's not transcribed verbatim, it's a summary of the call discussion. So I think it's important for the journal and for the legislative history of this proposal that the discussion on the proposed amendment be done in plenary.
Yeah, I hereby declare short recess. I now call back our session into order. Before we took that short recess, we're still on the order, and we're on item 9, second reading, and I'm under our rules. I hereby resolve our plenary into Committee of the Whole, and floor leader, who is now the temporary chairman, shall take over from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I now call the meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order. On the first proposal, may I ask the Chief Clerk to please read the proposal in its entirety for the benefit of the delegates before we debate on it?
Thank you, Chairman. Committee Proposal Number 4-11 CCD1. It reads as follows. Article 9, Section 9. A person is ineligible to be a member of Congress unless he is at least 30 years of age on the day of election. A citizen of the Federated States of Micronesia by birth and a resident of the state from which he is elected, and is residing in the Federated States of Micronesia for at least 5 years. A person convicted of a felony by a state or national government court is ineligible to be a member of Congress. The Congress may modify this provision or prescribe additional qualifications. Knowledge of the English language may not be a qualification.
Thank you, Chief Clerk. Delegates, there you have it. Discussions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Chairman Laban.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In connection with a proposed amendment that I intend to make on this proposal, I move to suspend Rule 53 of our Rules of Procedure with respect to the requirement for filing written proposed amendments to proposal before. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we suspend the applicable procedure, rules of procedure. Discussions? If none, let's vote. Yes, Delegate Sikwa.
I want to understand domiciliary as it's used here. Is there a definition that we can feel more confident going forward?
Okay. Let's do the motion first and then get to the others so they can explain what that domiciliary is. So let's vote. Those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go into discussion. Back to you, Chairman Nabaya.
Thank you, Chair. I move to amend the proposal, committee proposal of 4-11 in the manner as displayed on the screen and in the written forms that I've submitted. The reason why being, among the requirements in the current form of the proposal for eligibility to be a member of Congress, you have to be a resident from the state for which you are being elected and is residing in the Federal States of Micronesia. To me, that's superfluous and confusing and or redundant. Because when you're a resident of the state from which you are elected, you are already a resident of the Federal States of Micronesia. So I think this wording creates some ambiguity that can provide some challenge later on. I think the intent here, having spoken to the introducer of the amendment, is that you have to have a permanent home in the state where you are to be elected, and you must be a resident of the Federal States of Micronesia. So you can be a resident, for example, in Ponte, and have your permanent home in India, for example, and you can run India. So the distinction here between domiciliary and residency is this. Under normal uses, this domiciliary is your permanent home. where you intend to someday return, but you don't necessarily physically live there. Residency is where you are actually living at the moment. So that if you are domiciliary, for example, for say, Chuk, but living and working in Pohnpei, then you're a resident of Pohnpei, Federal State of Micronesia. So that means so it's clear here that if you have a domicile in Chuk, but residing in Pohnpei, you can run for Congress to represent Chuk. So I think that reflects the intent that the Delegate Cantor wanted and I think it provides clarity to the language. So that's the purpose of the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Delegate Cantor.
I fully understood what Chairman Napayan is trying to do. I'm just wondering if, because he actually catched my intention. So I'm wondering if we need to make an amendment or they can just do it with the style and arrangement.
Chairman?
Go ahead, Chairman Nabayan.
This will be a substantive change. I don't think staff can do it. So if this is something that the delegates agree with, it has to be done in this form. Thank you.
It makes the work easier if it's done here and then just goes to style and arrangement for,
So I move to amend the proposal as shown on the board, on the screen.
Chairman.
Chairman,
Thank you.
welcome to you, Chairman.
I understand where the proponent of the proposal is coming from, but I agree with him that it changes the substance of the intent. I think the original intent here is to limit those people who are going to run for Congress to be currently residing in the FSM. I think if we change it to what is being proposed, someone who's born in the FSM, resided here for 5 years and moved to the United States is qualified under the new language.
Right, Chair?
Let me recognize Chairman Asher first before you.
Can you explain the last version where say, and is a resident of the Federal States of Micronesia for at least 5 years? Maybe if you clarify that, then I'll understand where you're coming from.
Chairman Asher first.
thank you, Chairman. I guess I have a question on the proposed amendment, and also this is specifically to the phrase Federal States of Micronesia by birth, citizen of the Federal States of Micronesia by birth. What does the by birth means? Is this consistent with Section 2 of Article 3, which defines citizenship of FSM to be a son or a daughter of one of the parents being an FSM citizen? Does this by birth means that even if your parents are not citizen of FSM, just because of the occurrence of a birth in FSM, you become an FSM citizen?
We have two questions here. First one is by Chairman Albert. Chairman Nabayan, you want to respond to that, please?
Thank you, Chair. So what this was is that you have to be domiciliary, meaning you have to have a permanent home in the state in which you're running, and you have to be a resident of the Federal States of Micronesia. So you cannot be living in Guam or Hawaii and run. You have to be actually residing in one of the states, one of the 4 states of the FSM, and you have to have a domicile in the state in which you're running. So for example, if you're in Paracay working for the national government and you're from Chuk, and you're maintaining a domicile in Chuk, you don't have to be residing in Chuk. You can reside in Pohnpei, which is part of the FSM, and be qualified under the proposed amendment to run for Congress. If you living in Guam or Hawaii, but have a domicile in Chuk, you will not be eligible. Thank you.
The question was by Chairman Asher. You want to also, or you want to answer that?
Yes, I would like to.
Delegate Conte?
I think the definition of citizen by birth is explained in the other section with the requirement for dual citizenship. So one or both of the parents must be an FSM citizen, not just by birth here.
May I, Chair?
Yes, Chairman.
So, in furtherance to Director Conto's explanation, what that phrase by birth does is that it excludes naturalized citizens from running for Congress. So you have to be a citizen because one of your parents is a citizen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Abraham. Any more discussions?
Chair, I haven't
Yes,
got a
Chairman.
clear response. I like the original language because it clearly identifies who is qualified, the person who's currently residing for the past 5 years. Are we opening it up to anyone who have resided in the FSM, say, 10 years ago for 5 years and then moved over?
Chair?
Chairman Abraham.
I'm just, the last language.
It's still there. It's still in the proposal. You have to be a resident of financial mechanism for at least 5 years. It's still there.
Chairman, if I may.
Chairman Asher.
Sorry, do I have the floor?
Yes, you do have the floor.
Yes, going back, I'm not sure if I heard it clearly by the definition of by birth, and it's in here because of the intention is to maintain the current definition, which is one or two of the parents are from FSM, and then one is to make sure that, well, I'm not sure of the other definition, but I think it's by putting by birth there, it becomes ambiguous whether we're trying to maintain the current definition of citizen under Article 3, Section 2, and we're trying to, it will open it up to anybody that is born in FSM to become a citizen. Is this what we're trying to do? Otherwise, we need to make sure it's inconsistent with Article 3, Section 2, which defines citizenship in FSM.
Thank you very much, Chairman Asher. Can I ask Elsie if she was able to look at it in the course of while it was with committees? Elsie?
So the by birth language is being included here because that mirrors the language in Article 9 with regard to the president. So if you take a look at Article 9 of the Constitution, Section 4, it says a person is ineligible to become president unless he is a member of Congress for a 4-year term, a citizen of the Federated States of Micronesia by birth. So you're not adopting new language into your Constitution that creates an ambiguity. What you're doing is taking out irrelevant language that was included back when the country was transitioning from TT into the Federated States of Micronesia, and there might have been someone who was a citizen, who had become a citizen of the trust territory, but had been a citizen for less than 15 years. So your by birth language means the same as the language is used in Article 10, Section 4, which has always been interpreted to be consistent with your citizenship article, which is Article 3. I know this is confusing, but one of the few countries in the world that has location birthright citizenship is the United States. And that is because the language in the 14th Amendment specifically provides that if you were born in the United States, you are a citizen of the United States. That language is unique to the United States and was necessary in order to make former slaves citizens, not just because we were doing away with slavery, but because we had the Dred Scott decision that said everyone of African descent could not be a citizen of the United States. So the idea of a birthright citizenship by being born in the country is really unique to the United States and a historical anomaly based on our history of slavery. So the language here that's being included in this proposal in section 9 is consistent with your article 9, section 4, I'm sorry, article 10, section 4 on your president, and would be read in conjunction with the citizenship requirements of article 3 as currently written, or as hopefully will be amended pursuant to the proposal that was adopted prior to your recess.
Chair.
Thank you, Chairman Abad.
Yeah, in addition to the explanation by the LC, committee report, it explains what by birth means. You have to be a citizen by birth, and the committee report says that you have to have been born to a parent who was a citizen, 1 or 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Abad. Anything else? No, if there's no further discussions, can we? Anybody want to make a motion? Who? Yes, Chairman Asher.
Mr. Chairman, I just heard the advice from our LC, but I wanted to make sure that the report, or wherever we can, to make sure that by birth, it doesn't mean first of all, it should be consistent with the definition of citizenship as was explained by our LC, but it also makes sure that it clarifies that it's not by birth that definition of citizen by birth that is used elsewhere.
Thank you, Chairman Asher. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, here,
Yes. Go ahead, Chairman Francis.
I'm fine with the proposed amendment here, but I think my understanding of domicile or domiciliary is that you have to choose one place being your home sweet home to qualify. Is that the understanding? Thank you.
May I?
Yes, Chairman Labayan.
Domicile, as has been defined, to my understanding, it just means your permanent home to which you intend to return. You have manifest intention to return to permanent home. So long as you maintain a permanent home and you intend to return there, you don't have to be physically residing there, but your domicile. At the same time, you can be a domicile in one country and be a resident in a different country. So, for example, if you're working in Tariki and you're from Yap, and you maintain your permanent home in Yap, you can be a domicile of Yap State, but a resident of Pontay State. In that context, if you've been in Pontay for at least 5 years as a resident of Pontay, you are a resident of the FSM and a domicile of Yap State. On this proposed amendment, you are eligible to run for Congress to represent Yap. Thank you.
Chairman,
Thank you, Chairman Labayan. Chairman Kanto, and then Chairman Sikra.
Thank you. I've been promoted to be a chairman today.
Delegate.
Thank you. I was just wondering, I don't know if this is correct or not. If we take that a domiciliary and then come down, retain and is residing in the federal state. That is much clearer.
Chairman, I move for Chairman Sikra.
I can also be a chairman. I feel like a chairman sometimes. I have never come across or could imagine in the next 20, 40 years someone not considered himself a yappies, like he's been in Pohnpei for a long time and then running Yap, or somebody not, it's just living in Pohnpei and not consider herself Koshayan and running Koshai. This word being domiciled, I can just imagine the election people in Koshai giving me a hard time, us arguing over where are you domiciled at. We don't even have a Koshayan word for domicile, so we'll be going back and forth. So that's my only issue here. I have my reservation here. For those that are hardcore Koshayan Yappies, and I would never run in a Yap state or Pohnpei state because they don't consider me a Pohnpeian. So it's just that during in the long run, when we're going through the implementations and then the election commission in Koshai using this one word to bar somebody like me that has been staying away from Koshai but in FSM, and my house at that time may be broken up and not standing up strong because there's a where's your resident? Well, I'm living with my brother or somebody like that, and then there goes my qualifications just because my house is under renovation or something. I imagine it being an issue later on down the road. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Thank you, Pastor Kilian.
Yeah, may I request a short recess, please?
Short recess declared.
Thank you.
May
let's go back to session. I now call the committee of the whole back to order. Any more discussions?
Chairman.
Yes, David Martin.
Thank you very much, Chairman. My respect to the President, all the delegates. Let me just pose a question to the proponent of this amendment. With the adoption of this amendment, if we do you think that it will do away with the requirement of the 5 years immediately before the election? Chair? No, thank you. No, it doesn't. The 5 year is still there. You have to be a resident of FSM for at least 5 years. And you have to have a domicile in the state where you're running. So you have to be the mercenary, for example, in YAP, for Congressman, to represent YAP in Congress, and you have to be a resident in a state, anywhere in the FSM, for at least 5 years. It's still, the 5 years requirement is still there.
Chairman.
Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, okay. Now, in the report, it was clearly stated that the measurement period is clearly stated in the report. The 5 year period should be immediately before filing of the election. Now, as it is written in the proposed amendment, it just said at least 5 years. Now, but we have to put immediately, Mr. Chairman, in order to make it clear, Chairman?
Go ahead, Chairman.
That 5 years is not new language, it's the core language of the Constitution. The electoral did not insert it, I did not insert it. You see, it's not underlined. It's, if you look at the provision in the Constitution, Section 9 of this Article 9, it says you have to be a resident from the state you have been elected for at least 5 years, period. But the intent is from the date of the election going backward. So that's still in the committee report. So the duration of residency is not changed from its current requirement in the current provision of the Constitution. So, like, I'm going to repeat myself. I think Delegate Canto's proposal, in due respect, with all respect, will cause confusion. It does not correctly reflect his intention. So I'm only attempting to clarify his intent. So if the proposal that I'm making is not adopted by plenary, that is fine with me, but I cannot then support Delegate Canto's proposal. Thank you.
Chairman Albert.
Yeah, thank you. I maintain my position that we should keep the word maybe residing. That word is pretty straightforward. It will do away with the question whether, because I'm defining this, I'm looking at a resident of the Federal System of Micronesia for at least 5 years, even though that 5 years was in the original language. A resident, if I stay in FSM citizen for 10 years and I'm, say, 35, went to the States to find a new life. In 1 year, I decide I'm going to come back because I want to run for Congress. Then I come back. If I lose, I'll go back to the U.S. And then I come back, I will qualify to run because I meet this requirement where I was a resident of the Federal States of Micronesia for 5 years before I went to the States and come back. I think if we maintain residing, I think that language will keep it that it's currently. So that's, if you can convince me that we're addressing my concern, then I'm totally for the bill. I'm for the proposal, but I still have that doubt, and I know you have your doubts. So we have to compromise or at least come to an understanding. But if my concerns are not an issue,
Chair?
Chairman Albert.
No, I'm open to your language. actually. It doesn't change the intent, it only further clarifies it, as you say. So if you want to move to amend it to the last underlined to, and has been residing in the FSM for at least 5 years, that is fine with me. If you want to make that motion.
You want to make a motion to amend it? Chairman Albert.
If everybody's, yeah,
Chairman,
Chairman,
I hear a lot of uncertainties and questions and unanswered issues of the current proposal. For me, I have a major problem with the use of the phrase pipered if citizens of the first Micronesia pipered. And therefore, I would like to make a motion that we defer action on this proposal.
Second.
Thank you.
So it's been moved and seconded that we defer action on it, on the proposal. I call short recess. So we can dispose of these things and be mindful of what we have against. So
Mr. Chairman,
I now call the meeting of the Committee of the Whole back to session.
if I may, Chairman.
Yes, Chairman,
Thank you. Before we go into COW, I have stated my position when we had the meeting on this proposal, and I take it that the intent, as I stated, was clear on its face. The amendment that is entertained here, although is consistent to some extent, but it further addresses the original intent as made by the proponent. So I am for the amendment that if yet to be made. I'm all for that if that were to be made. Thank you.
thank you very much, Chairman. We have a motion to defer action on this, so let's take care of that. Please be mindful about what the chairperson Sigla and the others have said about the work that needs to be done, and we have very few days left. So let's vote on that motion. Those in favor of the motion to defer action on this one, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so that doesn't pass. Let's go back to,
Chair,
yes, Chairman.
can I request Chairman Albert to make his motion to amend the language?
Chairman, want to make a motion?
A motion to amend the amended proposal to maintain the word is residing and take out a resident.
Say again.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the word residing
Chair,
be put back. Just a minute, please.
for
I'll
clarification.
come back to you, Chairman Nabayan. So please, Kathy, Elsie, if you can do it on the screen so everybody can see what it is that we're looking at in terms of the proposed amendment that was offered by Chairman Albert.
Chair, has been resigning
Oh,
and
has been residing.
yes. Chair, can you, Elsie, can I speak to Elsie?
Yeah, go ahead, Chairman Nabayan.
Elsie, can you hear me? Elsie?
Any session order.
Elsie?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my system
the session of the Committee of the Whole. There are two motions, I think. Two? No, one more. There's one motion on the floor offered by Chairman Albert. So let's vote on it. Those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Okay, motion carried. Okay, go ahead, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. I think now we can go to the main motion. I move for the previous question.
Okay, it's been moved that we stop debate on it. Do we vote now? Okay, so right now we're voting on the motion from Chairman Labayan. Oh, to debate? Yeah, to stop debate, but that's what we're voting on. Okay? So let's vote. All of those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carried.
So, Chair,
Yes, go ahead,
so the
Chairman.
motion now would be, the ruling now, the motion is to amend the proposed amendment as amended.
Go ahead.
No, so I think you need to put to the vote my motion to amend the committee report 4-4 as amended on the floor.
Okay, so the next one is for us to pass, or I cannot see the, what, yeah, to consider proposal 4-11. That's the main motion, no? As amended on the floor that we already passed. Okay? So, what's the motion for it? We'll just go ahead and vote. There is only a motion for it. So, let's vote. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. Okay, motion carried.
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead. Chairman Labayan.
I move that you rise to plenary and recommend passage of this proposal on second reading.
Okay, we stop together. So there's been a motion to rise to plenary. Short recess. And if whatever that decision is, then we rise to the plenary, and then that's when we do the vote. Okay? All right, so committee proposal 4-13, please, Chief Clerk, read the proposal in its entirety, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We now have committee proposal number 4-13 for second reading from your Committee on Public Finance and Revenue, but first subject to review by the Committee of the Whole or CAO. Committee Proposal Number 4-13 is relating to Article 9, Section 2(1) of the Constitution of the Federated States of Micronesia to provide that revenue derived from fishing is shared with the states. Resolved that the following be agreed upon as an amendment to the Constitution. Article 9, Section 2, the following powers are expressly delegated to Congress. Subsection MI, to regulate the ownership, exploration, and exploitation of natural resources within the marine space of the Federated States of Micronesia beyond 12 miles from island baselines, provided, however, that no less than 50% of all revenue collected from all forms of fishing are shared with the state governments. Subsection II, 70% of the revenue shared with the state governments pursuant to subsection MI shall be shared among the state governments based on population as determined by the most recent census, and 30% of the revenue shared with the state governments pursuant to subsection MI shall be shared equally among the state governments. Subsection III, all funds shall shared pursuant to subsection MI and II shall be paid into state treasuries.
Thank you very much, Chief Clerk. Delegates, do you have discussions? Have a motion?
So moved.
So it's been moved and seconded that
What's the motion?
proposal 4-13 be adopted. Discussions? No discussions? Let's vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carried.
Chair,
Yes, Chairman Laverne.
I move that we rise to plenary.
Any second?
Again.
So it's been moved and seconded that we rise to plenary. All of those in favor of the motion say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. Now rise to plenary. Services.
Yes.
not need to be in writing. It just says, or his proxy.
All right. Okay, now we're back to plenary. I wish to have our chair to make the report. Floor leader, acting co-chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Your committee of the whole considered two proposals that were up for debate by delegates, and had a really healthy debate on it, and came out for us to recommend the passage on second reading for proposal 4-11 CCD2 as amended. And second one also is on committee proposal 4-13, also recommended for second reading, passage on second reading. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, floor leader, acting chairman of the committee of the whole, for the work you did on those two committee proposals, 04-11 CCD2, and committee proposal number 04-13. And again, thank you for leading the action. Therefore, we have those two measures for second reading. And again, a reminder that the voting will be done by delegations, majority of which will make it passage 3 of 4. Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the first proposal, committee proposal 4-11 CCD2 for the state of Chu, Chairperson Mori. For the state of Shai, Chairman Houses.
Yes.
For the state of Pohnpei, Chairman or Vice President is Ananka Nariarte. Vice President is Ananka Nariarte. Delegate Simon. Thank you. State of Yap, Chairman Nabayan.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, all 4 states voted for the said proposal under second reading.
Thank you. Therefore, particular committee proposal 04-11 pass on second reading. Congratulations. Thank you. Moving on, the other
Chairman Mrs.
yes, clear services. A while ago, we just voted favorably. We passed committee proposal number 04-11 CCD2. That was passed by unanimous vote. Therefore, we are now on the other committee proposals. Chief Clerk. Oh,
Mr. President? Mr. President?
yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I am having a difficult time with the connection here. Can I please ask that my vice chair cast our next delegation vote, please?
You need that. I declare short recess. Okay, let's go back. We're now back to session. We're in plenary on item 9, second reading. And we are now moving on to committee proposal number 04-13. Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the State of Truth, Vice Chair Samo.
Mr. President, point of privilege.
Yes, go ahead, Sean Albert. Sorry.
Thank you. Please allow me to make a short comment before we vote.
Okay, you may, Sean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to speak yesterday before first reading, but I missed the opportunity. In a way, I'm glad because today is second reading of this very important proposed amendment relating to revenue sharing, and the opportunity to speak cannot be missed, so I request your understanding. I support this proposal with no reservations, and I'm speaking now so the record fully captures why I stand firm on this position. As an elected representative of the Bombay delegation, I owe everyone who voted for me an explanation of my position for the sake of transparency. The FSM Constitution was ratified in 1978 with the voters of Panabedam, Kosai, Truk, and Yap districts approving the Constitution. The ratification of the Constitution by these 4 districts recognized their sovereign right to form the Federated States of Micronesia and made the FSM Constitution the supreme law of the land. In essence, FSM is a child of 4 parents, states, which only agreed to keep it a special privilege in the management and control of a limited number of affairs, including the power to control and regulate natural resources of our vast economic zone, exclusive economic zones, or resources of our ocean that extends out 200 miles. Another power that the states gave the national government is the power to collect tax revenue. Currently, the national law requires that the national government retains 30% of tax collected from all states and 70% is remitted to the state where the tax is collected. Although the current revenue sharing formula favors the states, there is one revenue source that the national government chooses not to share directly with the states, and that is revenue from the fishing fees, which is the biggest source of revenue from the vast ocean it is entrusted to manage on behalf of the 4 state governments. Over time, this new source of revenue have grown exponentially through good management regulations jointly put in place by some of our regional governments, including agencies such as NORMA. With this increased revenue, the state governments requested a division of the funds in line with the existing policy of 50-50 at the least. The national government refused, and the states have gone to extra length, even reaching the courts in an attempt to get a share of the source of revenue, sadly to no avail. We as delegates are presently called upon to weigh the matter and decide how to resolve it. I base my decision on several factors. 1. Custom and tradition based on fairness is certainly key. But my main reason arises from the fact that the states are the backbone of our economy, of the economy of our nation. I remember vividly the clear recommendations of the Third Economic Summit, where the private sector was identified as the key to developing our economy. Since then, I see real assistance in the form of added funding injected into the state treasuries to help develop the private sector. Our economy remains stagnant mainly because of the lack of development. So the question I have to weigh, if this revenue remains only with the FSM based on the status quo, how are we going to develop our economies, especially the private sector where the states are currently struggling with? With that said, my vote is obvious. Thank you all for allowing me to share my views.
Thank you very much, John Albert, for this very pertinent and useful information pertaining to the state committee proposal which we're about to vote on second reading, 04-13. Fully reflects our sentiments in the utilization of the limited resources that we have, especially pertaining to the revenues from our most abundant resources, fisheries. If now we're proceeding on with the voting by delegation, Chief Clerk.
Again, for the seat of 2, Vice Chair Samo.
Truex vote is yes.
For the seat of 5, Chairman Falsis.
Kushai previously wanted to express our gracious support from the other delegation for this proposal, and we'll vote extra yes.
For the state of Ponte, Chairman or Vice President is Ananka Neriarte.
Chief, Pedro Benamas. Kanulaman.
Your wishes?
So this is the clerk. 13. And we have already two votes. Delegation reported, Chuk and Koshai. The Kongbe and Yap to cast their votes. Continue, Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the state of Pohnpei, Chairman or Vice President is Ananka Nariarte.
Sip Putrong.
Only,
Simon,
only votes yes.
thank you. For the state of Yap, Chairman Nabayan,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. President, all four states voted for the said proposal under second reading.
Applauding. I was decided whether to declare the vote, but certainly the outcome of the voting was unanimous that this particular committee proposal 04-13 pertaining to the sharing of our the revenues from our most abundant resources fisheries be shared among the national government and the state governments. Again, congratulations for that decision. Thank you. Okay, moving on, item 10. Chief Clerk.
Mr. President, for item number 10, final reading of proposed constitutional amendments, as of now, we do not have any.
Thank you. Item 11, consideration of resolutions.
Mr. President, as of now, we do not have any resolutions.
Thank you. Item 12, introduction and referral of delegate proposals and resolutions. Should you have anyone who has those can submit.
We do not have a referral sheet, Mr. President.
Thank you. Item 13, special orders.
None, Mr. President.
Thank you. Item 14, miscellaneous business. This time I'd like to call upon any delegates who may have a miscellaneous business to share with our
Mr. President.
this morning. Thank you. Yes, Chairman Simon.
Yeah, thank you. I would, can we go off the record for a second, please?
All right. Declare a short recess. All right. I now call back our session to order. We're on item 14, miscellaneous business. Chairman Simon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we go back to item 7.
Seconded that we go back to item 7 under our order of for today's business. All those in favor of the motion say aye. All those opposed say nay. So motion carried. Now we are back on item 7, reports of committees. Chairman Simon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move under Rule 28 that the Committee on Internal Provisions committee report that's written 4-14 to be pulled from committee for consideration, and I also ask that we suspend the proper rules that may need to be suspended with this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we considered or we pull that consider report. No objection, let's vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. So motion carried. So now we have the report from the report number 04-14.
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead, Chairman Simon.
I hereby move that we place the report for first reading. For adoption.
Any second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded
Adoption of the report. Thank you.
that the said report 04-14 be adopted. Any discussion? If none, let's vote on the main motion for the adoption of the said report 04-14. All those in favor of the motion say aye. All those opposed, nay. Carried. So the said report 04-14 is hereby adopted. So moving on, we have a new item at the first reading. Well, okay, for tomorrow's calendar. Oh, all right. So with that understanding under our rules, since we adopt, yes,
Mr. President,
yes, Mr. Pro Leader.
I thought we voted on a motion that suspend all the applicable rules so that it's taken up today.
Well, yes, it's if you had suspended the applicable rules as you had stated, therefore there are no obstacles to consider the particular matter on the first reading today. Yes, Chairman Simon.
So we're going to first reading. I mean, right now. All right. So thank you. The proposal seeks to amend the current Constitution right now, add on to a language. Currently, the FSM Constitution says that the ownership of lands and waters shall be precluded or shall not be allowed for non-citizens. So it says a non-citizen or a corporation not wholly owned by citizens may not acquire title to land or waters in Micronesia. So the suggestion that committee worked on is the underline that follows that. The purposes of the three sentences that are put in are discussed in the report, but let me just work with the first sentence first. Ownership of land and waters in each state shall be held pursuant to the laws and customs and traditions of the respective state. So the meaning of that, the committee thinks that the purpose of that is to recognize the current system that we have. In 1975, the First Constitutional Convention, they got together and decided that land shall not be an area, a realm for the new FSM government to be, to regulate or deal with. So that 1975, those contentions of 1975 was that the framers didn't want that to be a matter for the national government to deal with. The reality that we've been facing with is that the entities that are not pursuant to customs and traditions are getting ownership of lands, or states of the lost customs and traditions of those states have been getting land for the past 43 years. It's not rampant, it's not all over the place, but there are one or two entities that, according to each of the four state, actually three of the constitutions, currently are getting land. So the intention is to line up the intentions of 1975 and the realities of the three constitutions. At least three of the constitutions are very clear about local laws and customs and traditions. YAP is very clear about customs and traditions. Koshai has a language that actually talks about the descendants of people of Koshai, our dual land in Koshai. Bombay, we have a separate term in the Bombay Constitution. Chuk chose not to put anything in their constitution. They chose not to do that in 1990. They didn't restrict it. They didn't open it up to ownership pursuant to their customs, laws, or traditions. That was not mentioned. So this first sentence will take care of that. Go back to 1975 and connect the dot to make sure that the mistakes that are being done by courts since then for 43 years doesn't or do not repeat the intentions of 1975. Moving along, the provision shall be applied prospectively. So the application of this section, if passes, will not, those that already have lands will not change. So any Pompeians in Koshai that has lands before this, for whatever reasons, is able to get lands in Koshai, this will not change. Because even if that person is not of descent of Koshai, or in Yap, it will not change it if that person did not get the land according to the customs and traditions. I don't know what that means, but if it doesn't allow that, that person keeps the land. Pompey, if you're non-political, as it's written in the Pompey Constitution and you already have a land, it does not change that also. So it continues that those that already have land. So we cannot take lands away from people that already have that, and this provision confirms that. We have two process section in the Constitution that we don't want to usurp or assault. So we have this provision in there. The committee came up with that provision. The final section in the proposed language is that this provision does not divest national government of its jurisdiction or regulatory authority over the marine space pursuant to other provisions of this Constitution. Now, this language was really geared towards one of the states really that has traditional ownership that deals with how far as one can see, to deal with, to be their traditional lands. We don't want to usurp the powers of the FSM government currently on areas of the EEZ and where they regulate. So this section again maintains the tranquility of the federation that we have, that the FSM has specific powers. The states have specific residual powers, in this case land, but we don't want to assault the areas of maritime and admiralty and other areas that are with the FSM government. So that's the proposal that the committee came up with. We did put together a very comprehensive committee report. It has really good ties to the 1975 Constitutional Convention. It has the intentions of giving the harmony of the 1975 original Constitutional Convention, and it maintains the language of the first sentence from the first or the current or existing Constitution, which does not give land to non-citizens. So we, the committee, hereby seeks the plenary or the full delegate support on this change because it maintains our local, our grassroots, where we came from, all of us, all of the FSM and the people of the FSM. We came from 4 states, and each of those 4 states are unique, and this proposal maintains that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Simon, for those elaborate words on that particular matter. 04, committee proposal number 04 as 10. Okay, Delegate Cantero.
Thank you, Mr. President. In my view, history is those who make the hardest decisions. With that being said, and my general understanding of this proposal, I simply cannot support this proposal. Out of my utmost respect, but I cannot levy my support of this proposal.
Thank you, Delegate Cantero, for expressing your view on this particular matter. Thank you very much for your comment. Of course, it's
Motion
taken.
for
Yes.
deferment if that's procedurally acceptable.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments? We're on the committee report number 04-10 as proposed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Chairman Pulses.
thank you. My respect to you and esteemed delegates. I'm in full support of the proposal as it is consistent with the way we're dealing with land in Koshai. And I think we're well ahead of what we are talking about now, because we, in our constitution, we provide exactly for what is being addressed in this report. Land is scarce, and people really know how to deal with their land to determine who owns what. So if this proposal is to be voted, I feel that this is well fitting into how we deal with our with land in Koshai. So I applaud the committee for framing this proposal for the convention to address it. And as I stated, this is it fits well within our structure in as far as land. So my position as far as this proposal will vote for the affirmative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Pulses, for expressing your views on the same subject on land ownership and jurisdiction as per committee proposal number 04-10.
Mr. President,
Yes, Madam Chair Sikra.
following through with my fellow delegate from Koshai, Chairman Pauses, and representing Election District 1, Koshai State, I'm in support of that as a delegate out of Koshai. And as the chairperson for the Committee on General Provisions, my signature was on top of that report. Thank you.
Thank you for your full support of the said committee proposal number 04-10. Appreciate your explicit views on the matter. Any other comments on the committee proposal? Chairman Simon, do you still have?
Yeah, well, each of us were voted by, our constituents. We came here. We have reasons, and we should. And I really believe that what must vote is conscience, and I really applaud that. But please remember, we just need 16 votes to pass through here. We didn't need 21 or 22 or 19, 18. We only need 16. So look in your heart, think about where you come from, think about who sent you and what they meant back, our forefathers. Every time we write about the Constitution, we talk about our forefathers, framers of the Constitution. With due respect, we have a lot of respect for these men that put the first Constitution together that we have. So this is their will. This is what they were talking about. Please take time to review the committee reports back from 1975. Ruel Song, Bossy, all the delegates, they really talked about how they need to divide up the powers, how land is out of the question. They should be decided by the states. So we're just furthering what is there, what our forefathers said. This is an area reserved to the states. We're just saying, okay, yeah, if it's reserved to the states, the past 43 years, there have been some confusions. We just want to make sure it's clear. Because the confusions have been very highlighted and have been very destructive in some views of the states, at least definitely for 3 of the states that have constitutions that are not, that currently may be not in line with what we have today. So it's in furtherance of what we have. We're not creating something new. We're just fixing something that's already been made that needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Mr. President. Thank you, Chairman Simon. Yes, Delegate. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, and my respect to all, especially the proponent of this proposed amendment.
listening to what Delegate or Chairman Simon has said, I'm wondering if that concern is not already addressed by the proposed amendment that we've already passed, that all court dealing with the land should be to the state court. I would like our LC to see if, or tell us if this proposal is not violating or in conflict with any other provision in the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Canto, for that comment. Yes.
Before we go off the record and let TLC make comments, may I know there is a amendment that we've passed. It's already completed and gone to the, will be going to the voters in March or whenever the voting is done. This is regarding Article 11, Section 6B. That's the amendment to the jurisdiction of the FSM Supreme Court. That amendment says that if approved, it will allow that any court matters dealing with ownership of land or interest in land, that's the phrase used in the amendment, shall be done at the state level. Now, there's an argument that, well, if ownership is involved regarding Section 4, Article 3, Section 4, it has to go to the state courts for decision. But the FSM states, all four of them must follow the FSM Constitution. The current language as is right now, the way it lines up with the force, at least three of the states, they don't jive, they don't match up. In other words, there is a legal argument today that the Philippine Constitution on land ownership is unconstitutional. There is a legal argument today that the Kushai Constitution on land ownership is unconstitutional. There is an argument today that the YAP one is also unconstitutional, where it lines up with the FSM Constitution because of the supremacy clause in the FSM Constitution. Now, that's why we have the language of prospective, because it doesn't deal with taking away property currently under the due process of the FSM Constitution. So in my opinion, in my thinking, there are no provisions of the, if it passes, it will not be in violation of any current provisions of the FSM Constitution. So, but we can go off the record and let the LC make comments as well. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, people go after it. Okay. Chairman Abayan, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything on this proposal because I already actually made up my mind. But with respect to my good friend Chairman Simon, the interpretation in terms of the YAP Constitution is, in my opinion, invalid. The YAP Constitution is not inconsistent with the current provision of the FSM Constitution. Under the YAP Constitution, anybody can own land pursuant to customs and traditions, but because we respect the FSM Constitution, you have to first be an FSM citizen, then you can own land in YAP pursuant to customs and traditions. So we have Ponapins, we have Kosoarians owning land in YAP pursuant to customs and traditions because they are FSM citizens. One thing you need to keep in mind is we are in this for the long term. We are a nation. The objective, I think, of this country from the original framers of the Constitution is to create a long-lasting nation, and we need to be unified together as actually sister states. And if YAP is going to say to our fellow citizens in the other sister states, you cannot own land in YAP because you're not Yapese, for the long term, that has a very direct repercussion in terms of unity. And in my opinion, if you look long term, you have to look at what the implication of this would be to interstate commerce. If, for example, there's a business in Kuswai that wants to evolve and grow and develop interstate, this will actually be a hindrance. If the businessman in Kuswai cannot own land in Punte, how can he move his business to Punte? It's going to be difficult. He has to be by lease, but as a businessman, he prefers to actually own the land. And so I think this, for the long-term view, is actually not good for the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Abayan. Again, as you were elected to come here to further foster unity in our nation, and we don't, of course, land is an important matter, so we want to make sure that land, again, is very important. It's culturally important for each of the states. Therefore, much as possible, we should try to maintain that. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Chairperson Sigura.
Okay. I see the merits of the argument, the unity and keeping it within the FSM. Yet, I also see the importance to the people of Pohnpei and also the people of Koshai that due to scarcity of land, let them decide who gets to own their land. Now we're talking their land, not my land. Although it's my country, but it's not my land. So if the Pohnpeians want only Pulitak, did I say it right? Because I've been hearing Pulitak all this time, and I'm trying to see how I can get to be a Pulitak, but if that's what they want, we must respect that. Because you come to Koshai, the Koshai embodied their wishes in their constitution, you have to be of Koshayan descent. You just have to see how you can get about that and to get ownership of the land. So let us respect what the Pohnpei people wants and give honor and to people of that state. That's what they believe it's best for them, and we have to respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Sigura. Yes, Chairman Simon, go ahead.
So again, the concern brought up by Delegate Nabayan, thank you, Delegate Sigura, for those comments. But the concern about Nabayan, which is to continue the economic issues, to unity and all that. And I wanted to reemphasize the fact that this is not something new. This is, please read the journal from 1975. This is what the people that originally put the Constitution together wanted. We're just moving that along and clarifying it. But as far as development and economic help from other states, Pohnpei law, currently Title 42, we allow, Pohnpei legislature, 1978, amended in 1987, they allow any citizen, it's listed, citizens of the FSM are allowed to lease land in Pohnpei for 25 years, there's a section for 50 years. Not only that, they allow foreign investors, Vietnamese, Chinese, Americans, come in and use land for that length of time. When you drive past Bologna, you'll see a big church in Sakura. That's leased land to the LTS, Marines. That land is a 50-year development leasehold. They paid a substantial amount of money to keep that land for 50-some years. Several people, foreigners, Americans, complexes of building just across the street in Sakas and in Colonia, places that people are allowed to, of citizens from outside, to invest money, to also have long-term leases, 50 years, renewable under 50 years, 100 years, you know. So Pohnpei accommodates that, and I'm pretty sure the Koshai laws they do accommodate as well leases to foreigners. I know that because I just helped somebody write a lease for a warehouse in Koshai for 25 years. So in Chuk, you know, we know that foreigners lease properties in Chuk as well for 25 years. Or more. One I just did for 30. But the point is, we currently have ways to deal with those. In continuing what our people, our forefathers put together back in 1975, we're not abandoning any wisdom that they had for development, because we're doing that. After the Constitution, Pohnpei put together a mechanism to accommodate citizens of the FSM, to accommodate even further out to foreigners. So, no, we do have systems currently in Pohnpei for that. If we want to be serious about development and economic working together of the states, it's there. So let's not confuse that it's not there, that this thing will harm that. It will not harm that. And if we are fundamentally talking about unity and all that, well, then our forefathers were not thinking of unity then, when they did that in their committee reports. Thank you.
Mr. President, information. Thank you, Chairman Simon. Yes.
I also move for the previous question.
Before you do that, can you allow?
Yes, I just want to ask one question to my friends here from our great state of Pohnpei. But first, let me be proud to say that Chuk has a constitutional constitution. I mean, you all say that. So, anyhow, so I'm proud of that. But my question is, I have a lot of relatives who, for reason not of their own choosing, have migrated to this great state of Pohnpei and have lived here and made this place their homes. I'm referring to his constituents. Are they allowed to own land in Pohnpei? I mean, I can understand the difference between lease and ownership. I mean, they are quite different. But are they allowed or not? I want to know.
Yeah. Chairman Sharma, you have a response to this?
Yes, I do have a clear answer to that. The Bombay Constitution is very clear on who owns land. I'll get back to that in a very quick moment, but I understand that Delegate Fritz did motion to my colleague from ED1, Louis, because of his ancestral background being from the Chuk. I want to also say that my great-grandfather came from Chuk. Yes, he came from Sarawan. So immediately to my right is Samo. We might be related by blood. Not from Seder only, but might be because of blood. The point is, yes, eventually we will get a land here. But you got to establish that connection to the Constitution. Currently we call it Pulutak. And people here are doing that. Delegate Takesi, grandchildren of, I understand, Yatuban, if you marry to a Pulutak, your grandchild automatically becomes a Pulutak. So yes, the answer to that is yes. Thank you.
Thank you. But if you don't marry the Pohnpei, but you live here, you're not Pulutak. The kids are not Pulutak.
The current language in the Bombay Constitution, yes.
Okay.
So if you married, have children, become Pulutak, they own land, then you divorce, then you get the land back?
Well, land once you transfer, it's the new owner decides to return it or not. But what the children's status is, they have what's called future interest when their father or mother is outside dies. Through the lineage of their parents is from Pohnpei, you get the land. But yes, so the key thing here is to lease or marry a local.
It's like a forced marriage. Okay. Yes, Chairman Pausis.
To further,
All right, go ahead. Order, please. Let's hear from Chairman
support the
Pausis.
proposition here. You all can own land in Kuchai for one, as citizens. But the second test to meet the constitutional mandate is to be a descent or a descendant of Kushan. That means you've got to have some blood in the system. So it's not a complete prohibition for citizens FSM to own land. So long as you can meet the test, the second test, although the land is small, if you meet the constitutional mandate, you can have a portion of Kushai. We have citizens from all the states who have had land in Kushai prior to our constitution became in effect. But even before and now, if you love to own land in Kushai, and I hope you don't, you only need to meet the constitutional mandates. Thank you.
Yes.
My friend there also. When is the Kusayan descent starts? Because in Chuk, actually, supposedly our Adam and Eve came from Kusai. So therefore, all of us are entitled to own land in Kusai.
Exactly, and that will be your responsibility to prove that. So long as you can prove it, you're fine. Otherwise, don't even think about it.
So how do we, Chairman Pausis, how do we prove that? Thank you. Right.
Mr. President.
Yes, order. Please, Chairman Nabayan, continue the discussion.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good exhaustive discussion. So I move that we proceed on. Close debate.
Of that, can I ask Kelsey, the squad of the record ask Kelsey, I was trying to contact her, but can I ask for a secret vote? For a secret vote, yes.
Before we do that, let's have a sword wishes. We'll go back and proceed on. Now call our session back to order. While ago, there was a motion to start debate that was seconded. So we need to vote on that motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. So motion carried. We now close debate. Yes, Chairman. Simon.
Mr. President, I ask that the vote is secret. That's a motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we do the voting on this particular matter by secret ballot. So all those in favor of the motion say aye. All those opposed say nay. So motion carried. So voting on this particular matter will be done by secret ballot. So staff issue out the ballots or whatever to use.
Recess?
So I call it for short recess.
Take-
So before we go into recess, we're called to vote on the particular matter pertaining to 04-10. On first reading, we're taking the vote by secret ballot. Those of us who are here and those of you who are joining us virtually, you cannot get the process right. You just text your vote to the legal counsel so that he can note them and then tally them together with our chief clerk, after which a final tally will be announced to the plenary. So I think we all voted, those of us who are here, but those of you who are joining us virtually, if you have not voted, go ahead and text your vote to RLC and Kathy will forward that to chief clerk or got it? All right, so we shall do that, and we are on record. So while you do, I declare so that we can start the things. voting on the matter 04-10 on first reading. Chief Clerk, can you announce the tally on the vote that we just took a while ago?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a total of 10 yeses, 8 no.
Thank you. Therefore, such a proposed amendment is not passed on first reading. Thank you. So moving on, now we're gonna leapfrog back to items 14, miscellaneous business. Any other miscellaneous business? Does any delegate wish to bring to our attention this afternoon?
Mr. President,
Yes, Chairman Pulses.
This has to do with the return trip. I understand that Chick and Yap are set to go on Friday. We have not heard if Kusha will ever leave. Is there any plan?
Yeah.
So long as we've given allowance and extra,
Yes.
we don't
No
mind.
problem. Thank you. No problem. We're not gonna keep you here forever, so you have to go back to the sleeping lady thing. And our secretary is working on that to ensure that all of us, especially those of us who are not here on pay, we go back to our respective states and join or rejoin our families. But I'm sure for your delegation, Kusai, you're ready to. There's currently arrangements being made to be finalized. Of course, you go back there. Unless you want to stay here for a long time. But I'm sure you want to go back home. It's been a while. But, okay, any other miscellaneous business?
Mr. President,
Delegate Kando.
in my tradition, I don't eat then talk, but now I'm going to eat then talk.
It's all right. You have to break tradition sometimes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. You're going to be tired of me because I'm afraid to stop reminding you and the leadership of the outstanding DAs that we are entitled to. Yet, the answer we've gotten from you guys is they're doing it. When?
Yes. Unfortunately, we heard on control finance, and you keep following. Our staff keep following up. Currently, there's a schedule of printing checks. I can assure you that each of us who are entitled to per diem will be getting our per diem in due time, and our staff continue to do that. Almost every day, 3 times, 5 times a day, they go and visit finance for that following up. Don't worry.
Thank you. And Mr. President, another one. If I may ask our staff to kind of combine the amount of money owed by those outstanding or overdrawn DAs, because I want to ask COVID-19 task force to pay us. So if you can put together of the amount that is overdrawn, and I would like to know.
Sure, that information is available. So our secretary has that information, he can share with us, and possibly at the end of this session or before we adjourn, sign and die, that
Please.
we could provide it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate. Thank you, Delegate Kando. Any other miscellaneous business? I guess we are all happy. Do you think so? Other miscellaneous business? Yes.
President, maybe for
Go ahead.
planning purposes, do you plan to add some function as we exit, or just for planning purposes?
Yes, I'm sure we should have something. And I'm working with our staff, Kapili, to prepare something to conclude our work. We deserve something. So again, that is being planned, including the formal or semi-formal closing of our work. So again, Kapili is working on that, understand. And it's been known, hopefully will be announced soon before we adjourn.
And maybe just one more, just what I mentioned earlier, maybe towards that we just kind of summarize the proposals, outcomes, so that everybody's aware, and then we exit, just for.
Thank you very much, Philip Thunder, that is very true. I'm sure our staff has that mandate to provide the final summary of our meeting, especially the listing of all those proposals that would have been adopted out of this convention, and of course, moving forward, the next step is to have to submit the report to our leaders, President, Speaker, and members of Congress, as well as our state leaders. And then the other one is, of course, the planning for the referendum. As you know, you're the one that, I mean, the review of the executive order, which was done 2 years ago, when we went to the President, he's very much interested to get our inputs. That was the first proposed composition of that task force, and I'm sure he's revising that based on, he wants to get our inputs to further modify. Thank you. Yes, Chairman Mabayan?
Recess? Can I call for recess?
Recess is called for.
No, I'm just wondering what the plan is. Are
We're now back to plenary session. Before we went into recess, we were on announcements. Since we are done with miscellaneous business, so any announcements by any other committee chairperson or delegation chair?
Mr. President?
Chairman
Yeah,
Pitch first.
Chairman Albert would not object if I could join him on his vacation boat. The Committee on Finance and Revenue is in recess and would like to go on vacation with Chairman Albert.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Fish. Congratulations again. Likewise to Chairman Albert.
Just let me know, and also maybe housekeeping matter I think we need to address. I know the two new delegates have joined us, and I should afford an opportunity to also take photos. So maybe we should plan on doing a group photo before everybody leaves.
Okay. I think that is being planned by our staff, Secretary. We have a group photo possibly on the last day, so we all come with good. So, is it for you? Formal. Okay, sure. Right, Kabli? Thank you. All right, moving on again on announcements. Yes, Chairman Simon.
The Committee on Style and Arrangement will be meeting tomorrow, right after the plenary, to discuss the final two proposals in front of the convention. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Simon. So tomorrow, Committee on Style and Arrangement will be meeting immediately after the plenary session tomorrow. Any other announcements? At the chair, delegation chair. All right. So, if no other announcements, floor leader.
Mr. President, I move that we stand in recess until tomorrow at 11.
Second.
So you move and seconded that we stand in recess until tomorrow at 11 o'clock, same place. Thank you. Objection, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Recess until tomorrow at 11. Thank you.